Good morning, friends. Today we will be discussing research designs. We are starting Unit 2, and this is our first video for Unit 2. This unit contains number 1, research design, the concept, need, and type of research designs. Then, survey research. Survey research is also a kind of example of research design. Then, nature and errors in survey research. Then, personal interview, telephonic interviews, self administered questionnaire, observation methods, and introduction to experimental research. So, more or less, we will be discussing all possible research designs in Unit 2. So, let us start with the concept first. Why research design is important, why there is whole one unit in this subject on this particular topic, that is research design. Research design is basically a master plan for the whole of your research. It is a framework for action and it specifies methods and procedures. Let us have a look at research design with the process. These are the stages of research process, and if you can have a look at it, research design is just the second step. But why is it that important? After problem discovery and definition, once you know that what kind of problem you are facing, what kind of the questions you are having in your hand, what are your research questions, what are your research objectives, on after that you immediately go for designing the research design, right? Research design is very important because all the further steps are dependent on research design. Research design will consist of everything related to sampling. How did you do the sample? How would you go for the sampling? What kind of the sample you are going to conduct? Then data gathering, how would you collect the data? How would you process the data and how would you analyze it? Then how would you conclude? Like the analyzed data, processed data is also one thing which would be analyzed by different people differently. Then after that, discovery and definition would be dependent on the result and conclusions. That is another thing, but still everything is dependent on research design here. So that is why research design is important, or you can have a look at it with the help of this particular pointer as well. Research stages are generally functionally interrelated. Like we discussed that research design is just second step, but this is very important because we have studied forward linkages and backward linkages in previous slides, right? Forward linkage means research design has forward linkage with almost everything, with sampling, with data collection, data analysis, and the report. How would you be generating the report? Research design has been linked with all of them. So it is very important how do you design your research, that you would be collecting the data, you would be sampling the population and everything. So that is why we focus a lot much more on research design, because it is forward linkage with all of them, starting from deciding the sample, then how would you collect the data and how would you analyze. Type of research designs, we have got three basic research designs. One is exploratory, second descriptive, and third is causal. Though we have discussed it, let us have a look at them just one by one. Exploratory research basically is to explore the things when you know that your questions are very basic and you don't know much about the problem. You will be going with exploratory research so as to explore the problem in detail. Then descriptive research is something when you have an idea about the problem, when you know these are the possible reasons of the problem which is actually going on in the organization. So you might have a few researches in your hand, so you can go for descriptive research. When you know that your initial research is complete, then you can go with that. Then causal research, it is generally done after exploratory or descriptive research. Causal means you know that these two things are affecting each other, for example sales and advertisement, and you will be judging them, that how much advertisement is affecting sales or how much sales is affecting your actual profits. So these are the things which decide whether to go for exploratory or descriptive or causal research design. But you need to decide it at the initial stages so as to go with your research master plan. Degree of problem definition. This is a kind of example of how exploratory research would be giving you the answers, or how descriptive can help, or how causal research can help. There is no one plan, there is no one best research design for any kind of the problem. You would always have alternatives. You would always have certain alternatives that can be done, that can be used for those research designs, but then you will have to decide which one to go for. How would you decide? On the basis of so many things. We will be discussing that after these examples. Exploratory research means you are unaware of the problem. For example, our sales are declining, but we don't know why. Company manager might say this, that he knows that sales are declining, but he doesn't have even a slight idea about it. So you will be going with exploratory research. You will be checking almost everything. You'll check with sales department, you'll check with production department as well. You will be going to check with marketing department as well, because they are going with advertisement. You might go and talk to your wholesalers and retailers as well. You might have to go to talk to consumers as well, because everybody is included in this particular thing, that why sales is declining. So you might need to talk to almost everyone, every party associated with it. So that is why we will be going with exploratory research. Then what kind of people are buying our product? Who buys our competitors' products? For example, we know that yes, sales are declining due to maybe some product features or price or something like that. So you will be discussing everything related to the product. You do not have to go to the finance manager or production manager. You will be just taking out all the related things to the product, all the features of the product, pricing technique of the product, and your competitors' product, and then you can compare them. So that means you have done the exploratory part, and you will be describing two things now. One is your product, and another one is your competitor's product. So this is how we'll be going for descriptive research. Or will buyers purchase more of our products in a new package? For example, you have discovered in descriptive research that this is because of the package. People don't trust the package anymore, or maybe this is very boring or something like that, or maybe competitors are providing much more good package. So you can go with this, like whether the new package is being liked by people or not. So that in that case, you can go for causal research. Will buyers purchase more of our products in a new package or not? This will answer you whether you should be going with new packing or not. You might just reduce the price, or you might introduce new package. That depends on the results of causal research then. Another example is, would people be interested in our new product idea? This is just an exploratory study. You will just think of the product and you'll try to see whether product would be liked by people or not. For that, you can just go with some test marketing. That is a kind of example of exploratory research. You can launch the product on a very small scale in just one city or one sector, so that to know people's judgment about the product, right? And for that, that is actually exploratory study, when you actually provide product to the people. Then what features do buyers prefer in our product? What features buyers like in your product? This would be done with the help of this can be done with the help of a structured questionnaire. You can list down all the features of the product and ask people whether they like it or not, or what kind of the things, features they would like in product. You can ask them that also. So more or less this would be descriptive, because you are aware of the problem, but you just want to know which are the best features of the product liked by the people, or which are not. Or when you know that people are going to buy your product with the help of advertising campaign, then you know the exact variable to be affected. So this would be a causal research. For example, which of the two advertising campaigns is more effective? You just need to go with two advertising campaigns you already know. How would you know about the result? By applying it either through the advertisement, or you can ask people yes or no. Or which advertisement is more liked by you, right? So again, causal research, because you 100% know about the problem, your problem is clearly defined right now. You just know, you just need to decide which one is better. So for that, you can go with causal research. To need to know, like, whether you should be going for exploratory research design or descriptive research design or causal research design, you need to do some exploratory study. That is not exactly research design, but some basic understanding of the study or of the problem. Exploratory research basically comprises of four things. Number one, some data available, that is called secondary data or historical data, then through pilot study or through experience survey and through case study. You can go with any of the method, you can even apply all the four methods, it depends on the costing as well, right? So after doing the research, after doing this exploratory research, before defining the problem, you will come to know whether you should be going for exploratory, descriptive or causal research design. And this would be decided on the basis of so many things. For example, objectives of the research. Now after doing some exploratory research, now you know what kind of the problem you are facing in the organization. You have clearly defined the problem. Now what are the factors needed to consider in this particular thing? What is the objective? How much time you have in your hand? What is the cost? What is the last cost you and your company can bear for this particular research project? So these are the things on the basis of which you will be deciding whether to go for exploratory research or descriptive or causal research. Among three, you need to decide it. So for that, what are the factors? Number one, objectives of the research methods. Number two, the available data sources or cost involved or the urgency of the decision to be made. So these four things would decide now that whether should you go for exploratory or descriptive or causal research. Number one, exploratory research techniques. This is generally done on the basis of secondary data, and the secondary data can be collected through previously collected reports, census of population, and some literature survey. Literature survey is basically published research papers, or through pilot study as well. We will be discussing all these methods throughout the unit 2 in another videos as well. But here I have just told you what these things are. What are the previous collected reports? What is the census of population or literature survey? And you already know about pilot study. We just discussed it. Pilot studies basically is number of diverse techniques. There are so many techniques available. You just need to decide one among them. Exploratory research design basically is a initial research conducted to clarify and define the nature of a problem. We generally do exploratory research even before defining the problem, but this is something else. Exploratory research design means your research finishes here. You just needed to go for exploratory research. That's it. You are not going to draw some conclusions out of it. Then you can stop here. You can stop after conducting exploratory research, and you will not be going for descriptive or causal research. You can just provide your conclusions and make the report on the basis of exploratory research. It does not provide conclusive evidence. We have already discussed that it would not be providing you conclusive evidence. It will just tell you that yes, these are the probable solutions, these are the probable problems you are facing right now within the organization. For example, you are facing some problem and you do not have any idea why it is occurring. This particular research design will tell you that these are the issues faced by the company, that is why the problem was happening, right? So sometimes our problem is just to know the problem. So this will help you in that. Subsequent research is generally expected if you are going to draw some conclusions. Then descriptive research design. This is generally conducted after exploratory research design. It describes the characteristics of a population or phenomena and some understanding of the nature of the problem as well. This is one step ahead of exploratory research design. It would tell you some basic characteristics of the variables you have taken up in the problem. For example, you want to know the average profits of the company over 10 years. This will help you in that. You want to know average projects taken up by the company, or you want to know average CSR done by the company, or you want to know average salary of the employees of the company. So this is something which is going to describe the variables. Descriptive research design. It will be generally held through either survey data or secondary data. Then causal research. This is generally conducted to identify cause and effect relationships. And data here needed is generally numerical, and you will get the result also in numerical form. And you can just write write and interpret it beautifully with the help of numbers. So causal research basically is done after exploratory and descriptive research, because after descriptive research you already know that yes, these are the parameters and this might be the problem. Now you just need to set up the relationship between two or more variables in causal research. Basic research methods for all research designs. Number one, surveys, then experiments, secondary data, and observations. Surveys. What surveys are? Survey is the most common method of generating primary data, and it is generally used for exploratory, descriptive, as well as causal studies. You can use surveys in all three studies. It is not hard and fast that you will be doing survey just for exploratory or descriptive or causal, but on the basis of what kind of survey you are going to do, you can decide that whether your study would be exploratory, descriptive, or causal. Or in another way, if you know that your study is exploratory, then accordingly kind of questions would be added in the survey. Or if you know that your study is descriptive one, then accordingly you will be deciding the questions in the survey. Or you know that your study is a causal one, accordingly the questions would be ended. The difference is, in case of exploratory study, you can just ask questions loosely structured because you don't know about the actual problem. So you will be going with free surveys, free questions, loose structured questionnaire. It would not be 100% a questionnaire. You can even call it a schedule or loosely structured questions. That's it. But when it comes to descriptive and causal studies, you have to design questionnaire. You have to structure a questionnaire properly with proper given choices, answers, or yes or no, or most of the questions would be close ended in case of descriptive and causal. But when it comes to exploratory research design, your most of the questions would be open ended so that you can have some new insights. So how it matters, like whether what kind of the study it is, because accordingly you will be designing the questions in the survey. Then experiments. Business experiments hold the greatest potential for establishing cause and effect relationships. Experiments are generally done when you already know that yes, these two variables are interconnected, 2, 3, 4 variables are interconnected, and you are going to check them. This is basically for either descriptive or causal studies. Maximum experiments are done for causal studies rather than exploratory or descriptive studies. Then secondary data studies. Secondary data generally are either literature surveys, some historical data. We just discussed that in the last slides. Some research papers available, some previously conducted research data, research results available. These are the secondary data. These would be used in all the researches, even in exploratory, in descriptive, as well as in causal research, but at different stages. In case of exploratory study, you will be just studying these secondary data reports, and on the basis of that you can just have some basic understanding. But when it comes to descriptive research, you will be See, secondary data, one part of secondary data is literature review. That would be needed in all the three research designs: exploratory, descriptive, as well as causal. But when it comes to other things, other numerical data, then this would be different. That how we will be using secondary data in our research designs. We'll be discussing secondary data in detail in next video, just after this one. Then observation. What do you mean by observation? Observation basically is when you actually record some programs or something by controlling one or more variables. You will be observing the behavior of people by telling them something, and maybe the truth is actually something else. For example, you might ask people to behave in one particular situation or the other, and you'll know that when people know that they are being judged, or when they know that they are being noticed, they will behave differently. That is also a kind of observation. Or you might tell something to people, and on the basis of that you can check their facial expressions, that how it just how the behavior just changed after one particular point or something like that. These are observational studies, and these are basically, for these, just to measure them, we go for scaling methods. We learn there that how we will be going to put them in numerical data, put their behaviors in numerical data on scale of 1 to 10, on maybe scale of 1 to 3, 1 to 5, good, bad, neutral. So many observational techniques are there. We'll be studying in next slide in this chapter itself. Research proposal. This is a written statement of the research design that includes a statement explaining the purpose of the study. Sometimes people confuse research proposal with research design. Research design is a master plan of what you are going to do. How would you sampling the data? How would you collect the data? How would you do the analysis and everything related to that? But research proposal basically is a written statement of the research design, which is just telling you that what kind of the research you are going to do. For example, I am telling you that I will be conducting exploratory research with the help of this and this. You will just be giving a statement which explains the purpose of the study. It is not going to tell anyone how would you collect the data, how would you analyze it, how would you sample it, nothing related to that. Just a statement explaining the purpose of study. This is how research proposal is. But research design is a master plan of everything you are going to do in your research. Research proposal basically is a detailed outline of procedures associated with a particular methodology, not actually with the particular research project, just with the methodology. That's all. Let us discuss some true-false. An experiment is a carefully controlled study in which researcher manipulates a proposed cause and observes any corresponding change in the proposed effect. Yes, this is true. An experiment is actually a careful controlled study in which researcher would be manipulating a few things and then would be observing the cause. Second, exploratory research is typically conducted in the early stages of decision making. Yes, this is 100% true. First of all, we conduct exploratory research, only then we start with the research design. Third is, the first stage in the research process is planning the research design. Is it? Planning the research design is very important stage, but this is not the first step. It is actually the second step. First step is defining problem. So it is false. Number 4, a directed search of published works, including periodicals and books, that discusses a theory and presents empirical results that are relevant to the topic at hand is called a literature review. Yes, this is actually the definition of literature review. So it is true. A book, a directed search of published works, including periodicals and books that discusses theory and presents empirical results that are relevant to the topic at hand, is called a literature review. Number 5, pilot studies are a formal research method that produce precise results. Is it? Pilot studies are informal research methods. So it is false. Last is, one of the major advantages of observation studies is that they record actual behavior rather than relying on reports of behavior from respondents. Yet, yes, it is 100% true that they actually rely on the actual behavior. We just discussed it, that observation studies are basically to observe somebody's behavior, and we'll be actually noting the same thing, the way the person behaves. It is not on the basis of reports that how respondent behave in so and so situation. No. So it is true. Self-assessment questions. Number 1, compare and contrast exploratory, descriptive, and causal research. Which approach is the best? We just discussed it in the whole slide. What is exploratory research? What is descriptive and causal research? There is a slide in this PPT which actually contrasts 3 of them. And which approach is the best? It is situational. As per situation, it is decided that which one is the best one. Second is, list the major stages in the research process and explain the term forward linkage and backward linkage. Forward linkage means the term is associated in upcoming topics, or maybe upcoming plans, or maybe upcoming stages. But backward linkage is when a stage is linked from the backward one. So for this particular thing, we need to go back to one particular stage. Third is, explain how a researcher makes causal inferences. How do we make causal inferences? A causal inferences can only be supported when very specific causal evidence actually exists, and 3 critical piece of causal evidence can be temporal sequence, that yes, they are temporarily affecting something. Concomitant variation, it occurs when 2 events co-vary, meaning they vary systematically. They actually go together, but we don't know that which one is affecting the other one. Then non-spurious association means they actually covariate, but between a cause and effect relationship, not simply due to some other variable, but because of themselves. So that is actually non-spurious association. Last is, explain the difference between a research project and a research program. What do you mean by research project? Research project basically is single study that is going to conclude something, or maybe just one study, one research study, either exploratory, descriptive, or causal study, which is going to draw some conclusions, or which is actually going to give you some solution on the basis of even exploratory research. But when it comes to research programs, it is basically numerous related studies come together to address issues about a single thing, single entity, single company, or single business. This would be a research program, series of research projects basically. So that's it. Thank you.